We open in Pearl Harbor. Well, Hawaii in general. You find yourselves on the island. But the story isn't about Pearl Harbor. The story is about something that may or may not have taken place around that time. We revisit characters of Victoria and Katie, who have become renowned researchers and professors of an organization called the Western Reliquary. Their leader, Eric Cassidy, has put them on the task of educating some of the newer recruits, and that's where we find ourselves today. Victoria, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Victoria McGuire. Was born in the United States, raised by Irish American parents, adopted parents at least. Studied in the US before I went to study at Oxford. I was there when the war started. And then Katie and I made our way to Hawaii and were able to move there. Where it's a little safer to continue our research and study and education.
And Katie, who is now played by Finnick. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Fennec, and I'll be playing Katie. I am here with my darling research partner. I come from Oxford, and, well, when Victoria says she has an interesting research opportunity, we, decided it was best, as they say, happy research partner, happy life, and now we've ended up in Hawaii, of all places. It's a little warmer than I'm used to, but the views aren't bad.
Are you kidding? The views are wonderful.
On the eastern side of the island, where the camp has been set up, a boat comes in with newcomers to the island. Archaeologists, studiers of arcane lores and magics possible but not impossible, and other scientists who are here to learn. A small boat docks, and on it, Mortimer Morley, played by Brian.
Hello, everyone. I am playing. I'm Mortimer Morley. I come from a Turkish and German descent. My father he immigrated to America a very long time ago, and he actually was a soldier in World War I, and he met my mother, but they moved back to America because that's where my father had known his home, and I was born in Kansas, and I had always had a penchant for learning more about the world and cultures, so I pursued my passion of archaeology, and that took me to Germany because some of the greatest minds are actually in Germany presently, before the great migration of the greatest minds from the evil party we won't speak about. But anyway, I was interning underneath Mr. Wilhelm Dorfeld, and I had also went to a Mr. Deckard Lazarus's classes about occultism, and granted, I am not one who really would say I am a die-hard fanatic or anything, but I keep an open mind, especially because of how passionate I saw this man was, even in the face of people laughing at him by the silly topics he would speak about with ancient beings living underneath the ocean and such. It seems like a fairy tale. I mean, Hans Christian Andersen could have learned a thing or two from Mr. Lazarus. But I say, I have been on the boat for a few days, and I am very excited to meet my fellow researchers and to start learning more of the land, and to possibly learn more about the chief named Kamehameha, who helped to really establish the Hawaiian culture.
Morty just buries his face back in a book.
Brilliant.
Mortimer is, as I said, he's half German, half Turkish, 28 years old, 6'1", and he is kind of like he's not really big and buff. He weighs 180 pounds, so he's more on the skinnier side.
Aren't we all just a bunch of scrawny nerds?
There is one thing in his inventory that he keeps very special, and that is his father's 30-06.
Can he shoot better than Deckard?
Yeah, I put more points in the shooting for rifles for Morty.
Good. I think I just have a knife.
Well, why would researchers need any of this?
Well, see, here's the thing. For Mortimer, actually, because he's actually been in some dangerous locations where there has been, some aggressive wildlife, like when he went to go to Russia and Siberia, Siberian tigers. He didn't try to kill him. He would just shoot in the air to push him away. Because, granted, at the same time, Mortimer really respects animal life, and he loves animals very much. So even at the same time, even if it's a risk for him, he's still not going to kill an animal. So he tries his best just to scare him with the gunshot.
Victoria doesn't really show her knife off, but Katie would definitely know about it. It's a gift from her brother, because she was adopted by an Irish American family, and then they had a son. So whenever he gets every once in a while, he'll send her a new cool knife, and she just carries it with her, because you never know. You never know when you're going to need a knife.
Now, is Katie Gaelic Irish, or...
Victoria's whatever Irish it sounds like. She doesn't, as far as she is aware, she was born in Limerick.
Oh god, Mortimer is going to talk your head off.
She was adopted as a baby by an Irish American couple, so she grew up in the US. I don't know if I've specified where, but we can figure that out later.
I should have just specified Mortimer is specifically reading a book on Gaelic mythology, so he's going to run your ear off.
How topical for the wrong island.
Katie is going to be so thrilled. Because, oh god, there's 2 of them.
Anyways.
Random thought of thing I want to establish in canon is Victoria has also gotten Katie a knife. It might be like a little pocket knife multi-tool thing just because it's useful, but she's absolutely gotten Katie a knife and taught her some basic self-defense. She doesn't know why she felt so compelled to do that, aside from I want to keep her safe because she's my special person. But yes.
Okay. So, Victoria, you're teaching a class. What is that class over?
I think she's teaching something on the intersection between mythology and history.
So she's teaching kind of lore, almost.
Yeah, how, where you can see the intersection of where these myths and legends come from, probably focusing on Hawaiian folklore, which I personally don't know a lot about, but I can learn about it just because we're in Hawaii, so it makes sense to focus on that, and then maybe including some other areas that she knows, looking at. So here's the myth, but then there's also some history to it, and even if this never happened, here's why this story was important and the impact it had on the people of that time.
Perfect.
Just because I think that would be a fun class to take myself.
You're teaching this class, and as the hour draws into an hour and a half, the bell rings, and it is time for everybody to gather in the lunch tent. It's a small class, it's only 14 people, but they're all very eager to get out, and as that bell rings for lunch...
Alright, go on. I know you're hungry.
They're already up and ready to go, but they hold back waiting for the dismissal.
Just alright, go on. I know you're hungry. I know you don't want to spend any more time here with your professor. Just very dramatic. But silly dramatic.
And they all leave, except for one, who you've had a hard time getting anything out of this researcher. His name is Henry Richards, but he's quiet, and he seems to be at an intersection of sonar equipment and archaeology. You have a hard time connecting with him, as he doesn't really care much for mythos or mythology in any regards. He seems more focused on using his little gadgets to find things.
I've definitely asked him questions about his gadgets and stuff, because that seems neat and interesting, and I guess this isn't a big concern for you, but you never know when the knowledge can be useful. When you find something, you might be able to better recognize it if you know the story of where it came from. Also, what does this do?
To which he yes and I guess, but
Plus, just think this isn't easy, eh?
that's the impression you get off of him, is this is the easy A. Which is strange that he's here now, and he looks pensive about approaching you.
It's alright, I won't bite. Perhaps I'm not that hungry. Come on, what's on your mind?
I think I've found something. I'm not quite sure, but it's big. And you remember your lecture on ancient societies that might be underwater now?
I certainly do. It's something I've been wanting to study, and I'm glad to see you were paying attention to it, given your area of expertise. Come on, pull up a chair.
He pulls up a chair and puts some papers in front of you with what you recognize as scans, sonar scans, pings coming back from off the bottom of the ocean floor.
I feel like I have just enough knowledge to maybe hold a conversation, but I couldn't teach anyone about anything, but she's just curious. So what is it you found?
Well, you see this one, right? This is of the ocean floor around us. This one right here is from Hawaii out to California. This one is from Hawaii up to Anchorage.
Quite a distance in these scans.
Yes. Right here is the one that I think is interesting. And he shows it to you. And whereas the peaks are much more sporadic in the other ones, these, you see the peaks of what look to be mountains, but are a lot more uniformly spread out. You're seeing large ones, almost pyramid shaped, as opposed to spires of underwater volcanoes and mountains, and you aren't seeing the cave in or the plateauing that you would see from others. It's coming up to a tip and then stopping there. There's a whole bunch of these. There's seems to go on for what he explains to be miles.
These do indeed look to be intentional structures. Can't say I personally would know what they could have come from, but it's definitely worth looking into. How did you come across these? And do you know if anyone else has noticed? Is there any other research going on into this?
Well, you see, a lot of the sonar equipment I can only use, well, if the Navy lets me. And I know I probably shouldn't, but I have a friend who allows me to use their sonar equipment and kind of smuggles me onto their ship.
So long as you're being careful and not putting anyone in danger.
Of course not, of course not.
Can't say I condone it, but also, this is all theoretical, of course. Translation, she's not gonna narc on this kid, just be smart about it.
Well, there's a little bit more. He rummages through his bag and he pulls out an old book. It's labeled Hawaiian Tales, arranged by, and then you try to pronounce the name. It's almost illegible just because of how old the book is, and wear and tear on the book. You see an H And then it kind of is scraped away, and then there's a B, and then an L, and then a couple of, you think maybe E's or O's, and then a GH at the end. You're not quite sure. He flips to a page, and the page reveals a lot of text. You start skimming through it yourself, and you're reading about how the ancient peoples used to come here through boats across the Pacific, island hopping, and tales of these great beasts, these great sea serpents that could fly into the air and blow gusts of wind that would just send ships flying off into the sea. And it was such a great boon to find these ships that some of the peoples would worship them, because it would get their ships to their destinations quicker. Others report how these serpents would destroy any enemies of their worshippers. But these serpents were reportedly gargantuan, that they were gods among these people.
I had a feeling there was a serpent in the ocean mythos around here somewhere. It pops up in a lot of places. I don't know if I've come across this one yet, but it's interesting. Where did you find this book, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, this one was in our library. I thought it was topical. I was just trying to see if there was any ancient civilizations that might have gone missing. That mixed with the Easter Island head south of here. I thought maybe some connection, but none that I can see so far.
Nothing clear, at least. But worth looking into. I appreciate you sharing this with me, and perhaps we can work a little extra credit for you, because I know you've been falling a little bit behind on some of your tests. This is not quite the class you can slack off in. Says this jokingly.
Well, that's the catch. He gets real tense and kind of comes in a little bit closer. Do you think that the government would, he's very, very nervous at this point. You can see him almost shaking. Do you think the government would try to keep something like this quiet? Maybe send someone after you? And that's where we're going to pause that.
Okay.
Mortimer,
Yes.
you just got out of Professor McGuire's class.
All right.
It was interesting to you. It fulfills a lot of the course requirements that you have to go back to the mainland and teach, but it felt like it was missing something. You feel like there could have been a little extra. You know that all the greats are always searching for that little bit of extra. The hard stuff, the real stuff, the stuff that is talked only about in peculiar circles.
Yes. Mortimer always remembers one of the things his mentor always told him: myths are not stories that are untrue. Rather, they are tales that don't fit neatly into the historical record, which serve as a foundation to a culture. So that's why Morty always looks for things other archaeologists wouldn't be trying to search for.
In what direction would that take Mortimer?
So, besides reading that book, as I said, he was reading about Gaelic, but that's just because he finished some of the books about Polynesian culture and just island culture. And he thinks the best place for him to go would be somewhere with like oceanic equipment, like sonar equipment, to see if he can talk to anyone if they've seen anything interesting in the ocean or seas lately.
Maybe you should have stayed after class instead of ditching me the second it ended.
He's going to head to the docks.
Okay.
Because, you know what, instead of looking for sonar, he wants to talk to like the local, see if he can find like some local fishermen and stuff.
You head down to the docks, and your research camp is near an indigenous little village, fishing village. They've been here for generations. On the docks, the fishermen are coming in for meals, and you see a couple others that are just kind of just staying out in the water, still fishing, just trolling the waves. Who would you like to speak with?
Probably someone else would probably go to the gentlemen that are just hanging out, but actually, Mortimer first goes to the fishermen that are coming in. Granted, of course, he wants to ask them a question, but you can't just go and try to bother them. These are working men, so he'll, of course, offer to help if he can ask them a couple of questions afterwards.
They agree. They let you help them. They're not going to turn down an extra hand, and they find it kind of funny that you, of all people, would be helping them. But you help them lug fish in from the waves, off of the boats. Go ahead and roll me a strength check.
Happily, and I get a... I got a 14.
14. All right, this is
Nice.
rather easy work for you. You put your back into it. You've been on that boat forever. You've had your nose in a book forever. Finally getting to do some real work it feels good for you. You haul them in, and the fishers around you are quite content with the work that you've done. And before they head out, they cook up a little bit of food for you and eat with you, but allow you to speak with them if you so choose.
Oh, happily, and Mortimer happily pulls up, eats the fish with them, and now, good gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to work with you. And one of the things I find best that if I'm ever to be immersed in cultures, that I must fully, invest in the culture, and instead of trying to impose my lifestyle on them, I would rather mingle myself into their lifestyle. So, like with you. And one of the things I wanted to ask, though, is you are men of the sea, and have you ever seen anything while you've been out to the sea?
They look at each other and then they laugh. I saw a whale once. It was a big one. It was blue. It nearly threw our boats off to the side and capsized us.
Mortimer actually takes note of all this, because he actually was like, I didn't know whales would actually be in this portion of the ocean. All right. Now, granted, I know that seemed a little weird of a... But what I was really... Have you ever seen anything that reminded you of stories from when you were a child? Like, as an example, when I had visited the island of Ireland, I was told by certain people who believed they had seen mounds for fairies. Now, I'm just curious, have you ever encountered anything like that?
They look at each other again and they converse in their own language. There are some small islands that have certain ritualistic mounds or statues. Small ones, sandbars even. Fetishes maybe.
Now, here's the thing, though. I'm not one of those people who just goes and desecrates a sacred land. I would need to have permission. I would need to talk to someone if it would be possible, if not disrespecting your culture, if I could possibly just see. I don't want to disturb anything.
You could speak with the elder. He knows those lands. He knows the way and how to get there.
When you gentlemen would have the time, would it be possible for me to be introduced to the elder? Because I just don't want to be rude and, impose myself on him.
They look at each other and one of them shrugs. You lot get the boat ready. I'll be back. And he motions for you to follow.
he's going to follow behind, and he just says, "Thank you very much, because I realize you gentlemen are busy."
They chuckle and they get back to their boat, saying things under their breath, which you just amount to silly foreigner.
Weird tourist.
As long as they're not feeling like he offended them, he's happy.
They think you did some good work. They think you're a little kooky, but at the same time, they're chill.
He's not the worst one that's come through.
Yeah. There was the British at one point,
Yeah.
but that's a story for another day. You get to the village elder. They lead you into his. It's a small house. It's more a hut than a house, but it's nice. There's a lot of ways for breeze to come in, but also to keep the rain out, and you can see a lot of family objects line the walls.
Mortimer just gets lost looking at all the objects, and then when he sees the chief, he does a respectful bow towards him. "Thank you so much for seeing me, great elder. What would you like me to address you as, sir?"
You can call me Elder, or you can call me Kai. That is my name.
"You know what? I would actually like to show you more respect, so I shall address you by your actual name. Mr. Kai, my name is Mortimer Morley, and I love to learn about cultures and learn about their histories, and my best way I have found that is to not explore and desecrate sites, but to pursue what has been always considered as myths, because I have found the best links to our history through our myths, and I was asking a pair of your fishermen about some interesting things that maybe they have seen that could have been considered like a mythical thing, and they pointed me to a small island, but I don't feel right trying to just set foot on there unless I have permission from the chief of your group, because I don't want to desecrate your lands.
They are not our lands. They do not belong to us. And those who build their fetishes and their statues and their mounds are not of our lot. They are not of any lot that we know of. When we find their remains on those islands, whether they be statues or the lot, we typically try to burn them, as we do not wish them to bring us any evils.
That is actually what I wanted to assure you, is that whatever I see will still stay there undisturbed. So I would not dare to try to bring something back that, of course, you don't want your people involved with, so I will make sure to respect that.
Oh, it is nothing of that sort. It is more, some people wish to believe in the old ways of mystics and, well, darker mystics, really. But that and of more, I don't know an English word for that.
I think I can actually understand what you're saying. And honestly, I have found even those that connect themselves to what you would consider the old ways, that sometimes that might be the correct way to think and go around certain issues or topics. This just really piques my interest now.
You should leave. You hear a woman shuffling towards you. As we told you, General Cassidy, you don't want anything that those people are smoking. You want to stay far, far away from that. She's old and her hair is turning gray. But you also see the graying over her eyes. She walks with a cane that she beats on the floor as she steps.
At first, when he heard that you should leave, he was like, "Oh, I think I pissed someone off. Time to go." But then he sees the elderly lady coming out, and his eyes just start glowing because he's like, "Oh my God, this is just the type of person that I need to talk to." And he's just, "Would you be willing to tell me a little bit more about why I shouldn't be interacting with that?"
They are evil magics. That's all you need to know. Now, leave, foreigner. Leave.
Mortimer actually is going to get up, and he knows that he does a little polite bow to the chief again and goes, "I do apologize. It appears I have upset someone, and I shall actually take my leave now. Thank you, Elder, for your time."
He nods his head respectfully, and the old woman looks in your direction, and her head seems to follow you as you leave. Not looking at you, but past you. And that's where we're going to end that. Katie,
Yeah.
you're in the library. What are you looking for?
Honestly, probably books on local legends and myths, just to kind of get a sense of the area.
Okay. You have those in great supply, although your only quarrel with them is that they're all written by white people. They're all written by Americans or British or French or really anybody who's been through here. They're not written by locals.
So frustrating.
To quote, well, she'll be an independent author many, many years in the future, and thus they would discover it was written by another monk who is not a part of the culture 300 years later and scream in frustration.
Not Bede.
Listen,
Not the Venerable Bede.
it's fine. We don't have bones to pick with history. It's fine.
No. You flip through them and you're seeing more about Polynesian settlement through the islands. You're seeing it's all stuff that you're kind of familiar with, but with the undertone of British colonialism. It's all empirical, is what I'm trying to say. A lot of their religion is written off as heathen worship or heathen gods, and then apologists go through and they're just making comments on how great the Christian God is, that has brought missions and brought churches into the Hawaiian colonies.
There have been so many tipsy rants in our home about this. Just so many.
This is probably your third or fourth time trying the library for anything of use, and just coming up short.
We've probably taken weekend trips around the island to find other places where we can get information that wasn't just written by a bunch of white people.
Agreed, and it takes there's the urge to yeet the book and say useless, but it is a book. And Katie does not throw books. She just sighs, it's not your fault, and just very gently puts it back on the shelf.
You put that book back up on the shelf, and the librarian approaches you. Oh, Katie, I see that you are looking through the books again. Hopefully you're not going to throw it or scream at it again.
It's not the book's fault that their author was short-sighted. They couldn't see past their own nose, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Sometimes the best books are the ones that haven't been written yet. Perhaps you can add one to our collection, if you are so picky about what you are to read.
Just smiles that ever so sweet, syrupy British smile. Yes, I will be sure to get on that once I am finished with my work that I have been paid for.
Well, aren't we lucky to be paid? You've had your issues with this woman before. She's bitter after having learned that you were once a librarian yourself and have become a researcher, as if your entire life as a librarian was only meant to serve the researchers, as opposed to one day maybe becoming one yourself.
And it's not like librarians don't do research because you have to help people find the books, and she's just looking at this woman like, you could do it if you wanted to.
She's not necessarily helpful when it comes to aiding in finding what you needed. Most of the time she just points you in the direction of the section that you might need, and that's it.
She'll sigh. Well, I should be getting about. I did plan to meet one of the professors outside, so if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go out to the garden area. Have a lovely day.
Well, if you were to leave now, then I wouldn't be able to hand you this book that just came in.
There is an eye twitch that I cannot replicate on camera, but assume for our audience, there is the twitch of the eye. Ah, how delightful that you we went on a chase instead of straight to the point. You would make an excellent foxhound.
And she puts the book in your hand. It has no title. It has a brown binding, and the pages are all of this yellowish paper.
She'll take a sniff, because older books will smell like they always didn't use paper. They use, reed paper or potentially, leather and whatnot. So she's, trying to get a sense of how old it is.
It's definitely reed paper.
Oh. She's going to very gently set it down on a table, reach into a bag and pull out some preserve-type gloves, like the special papery handle gloves, and put them on before opening it.
And you open it, and it is written in a language that you do not understand. But the pictographs on the page are interesting, and they tell their own tale, it feels. You see pictographs of birds, you see pictographs of fish, what looks to be mountains, and perhaps leaves, maybe? It's uncertain. But it's a book, one that you haven't seen before, and one that is now in your hands, and your hands alone at this point.
She's going to kind of flip through, take stock of all the pictures. Can't read it, but very carefully wrap it in a spare scarf that she keeps in her bag and tuck it gently in the bag and go off to find her research partner, because, the research partner might know what the language this is in.
Exactly, and then we could just find the dictionary and start figuring out how to translate this.
All right.
I don't suppose we have a linguist.
No, there's one thing that you're short on.
I'm just gonna have to find another person to join the campaign. Noted.
We need a linguist, damn it. The day comes to a close. Classes continue. Katie, you get to Victoria's class just as she goes into another one. Victoria, you ponder the question that Henry left with you before you went ahead and sent him off to lunch. You felt uneasy the rest of the day. And Mortimer, you return back, and some of the other students are talking about that strange Henry guy who keeps shifting away down to the military harbor, or to the naval harbor, where he just disappears for a couple of days at a time.
Ooh.
I do think before she sent him on her way, Victoria's response would have been something along the lines of, I can see them hiding some things for security's sake. I'd be more curious about how they would know about these things. I don't even know if they would believe such a thing exists. But there could be something else. Why don't you come back to class tomorrow and I'll see what I've found by then. Now go on, go eat.
He leaves his work in your care.
I just make a couple of neat little stacks, mix it in with some of my other stuff, and just have my little stack of stuff in so there's I have a little desk or something, or a bag where I'm able to keep my notes. So I put them in there and do lunch and then start getting ready for my next class.
Katie will just find a spot comfortable in the back and just pretend to be auditing the course and just tracing little doodles in the corner of the pad that they're taking notes on, like little hearts and what have you.
You have been listening to Beyond the Crumbling Veil, a Call of Cthulhu 7e actual play podcast by Styx Helix Productions, as part of Pseudonym Social, a creative podcast network changing reality one story at a time. If you're enjoying this show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes or Podchaser or wherever you're listening to help other people find this lovely spooky tale. Beyond the Crumbling Veil is DM'd by John Voman of Styx Helix Productions, with Brian, Fennec Foxfire, and Brianna Jean. The show is also produced by Brianna Jean. If you don't want to wait to find out what happens next, you can get early access to our episodes by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/pseudonymsocial. You can also find out more information about our other shows at pseudonymsocial.com and support our various productions.